Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. All right, before we get started on this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, I do want to say that if you are watching the show and you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, you please need to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you know when new shows are coming out. If you would like to help support the show, you can buy some Riding Shotgun with Charlie and some Gungram stickers and patches. You can get these at writingshotgunwithcharlie.com on the swag and merch page. And if you would like to help get the stagecoach across America, you can get a Gungram or a Riding Shotgun with Charlie shirt at the, they used to call it Teespring, but it's, the website is writingshotgunwithcharlie.creator-spring is where that website is, and you can buy shirts and hoodies and mugs, and that helps support Get the Stagecoach Across America. All right, so today, in this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, we are in Wadsworth, Ohio, and I have with me Tom Hall from the Buckeye. You're not from Buckeye officially, are you?
I am.
All right, so we have Tom Hall. He is with the Buckeye Firearm Association, and he's with the Faster Saves Lives. Tom, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
I am glad to have you in here because today that we are taping this, we have just wrapped up a 3-day Faster Saves Lives class.
That's correct.
I only got shot by the bad guy 4 times on the very last drill. Even though I got 28 out of 28 on my qualification, I was a -4 when it actually counted. so that's not good.
Yeah, these guys aren't paper stapled to a stick, right?
No, I have 2 Band-Aids. I'll put pictures of my injuries. None of them are life-threatening, and we didn't have to apply a tourniquet.
No tourniquets.
Or neither of the torso wounds are, what are they, sucking chest wounds? I mean, they suck.
They suck,
but
yes,
they're just chest wounds.
They suck, yes. I got more than 4, but I am one of the bad guys.
This is true, but you have a protective shirt on.
Well, but somehow they know how to shoot all around it. I don't know. I got shot in the butt, thighs, Achilles, tendon, calf. Love handles are the worst.
Right. Yeah, tell me about it. All right, let's get this started.
Yeah.
So tell us about yourself. You are you live here in Ohio?
I do. I live from Southern Ohio.
From Southern Ohio, a term I've never heard people use before. Southern Ohio.
Well, you know, there's a part of Ohio that's along the northeastern side of the state that borders on Appalachia. So Appalachia, Ohio is a very different kind of Ohio than the rest. So
gotcha.
It's a distinction that we recognize at least.
See, I always thought Ohio was just round on the end and high in the middle.
Well, I used to think that in 3rd grade. I got past that.
Only in spelling.
Right.
All right, so tell us about yourself. How did you become a gun guy?
Well, spent 13 years in the Army.
God bless you.
And thanks, sir. Got out of the Army and went to Ohio State to finish my degree. It was in my late 30s. I was a single dad.
Wow.
And it was fun looking back at it, you know. And but I was eventually going to, well, I'm sorry, Ohio State. I studied, I got a history degree, but I focused on constitutional history. Oh, now, that's not an official focus that they put on paper,
right?
But all my electives, I even took history classes. And so any constitutional class Ohio State offered, I took. So I took the equivalent of approximately a minor in just constitutional history.
Wow.
And so as I learned that, and with my background in the military and Southern Ohio, slight redneck upbringing, was always pretty pro-freedom, pro-America, pro-gun anyways.
Yeah.
I was going to church, and there was a guy there that taught CCW, and this was when the CCW law was relatively new in Ohio, and he coerced me, I mean that in a nice way, into going to a CCW class. And then I substitute taught Sunday school once, and he stopped me after. He goes, "Man, you'd be a good instructor." And I said, "Really?" And so then, long story short, my mission, which is still my main mission in all that I teach and all that I do, which is sort of the umbrella mission statement I have, is the more educated, legal, armed citizens there are, the freer I am. It secures our freedom the more educated armed citizens we have. Yeah. Law-abiding.
Very cool.
So I did it for free for a while. My dad got Alzheimer's, and he asked me to move back home to my hometown.
Yeah.
And but I knew that a punch the clock kind of job, 9 to 5, wasn't going to work, because I'd end up getting fired, going home early all the time to help with parents. So I thought, well, maybe I can make a living doing this. And in some ways you can say I have. It's been probably the 50% or more of my income over the last 8 years since I moved back.
Wow.
With my, So
good for you,
not
man. Not living the glamorous life.
Not living the glamorous life, but yeah, I've worked for a couple gun shops, and there's a because he's still a friend. Billy Bear owns Bear Arms in Ashland, Kentucky, and Huntington, West Virginia. That's the part of Ohio I'm from, so you can see West Virginia and Kentucky from where I live. So, right. So I was the director of training for Bear Arms there for a couple of years, and
cool.
And the same guy that got me instructing is in Buckeye Firearms.
Oh, cool.
He doesn't work with the Faster program, but he's in Buckeye.
Yeah.
And he asked me to start, hey, won't you come help us out with this event or that event? And so I started volunteering with Colonel Grossman. I was working his book table 2 or 3 times.
Very cool.
Then so Buckeye Firearms to actually be...
hold on, the Lieutenant Grossman?
The Grossman, yep. The Colonel. We used to have him here about once a year.
Wow.
For many years. I don't know exactly. And before I started working with him. And to be actually in Buckeye Firearms Association or Foundation, it's by invitation only, because our internal communications are pretty sensitive, because the association is the nonprofit political wing, and the foundation is the nonprofit educational wing. I do very little with the association. I do almost everything I do with the foundation, right, as an instructor and with Faster.
And the foundation is
It's nonprofit educational.
Nonprofit
educational foundation. Yep.
Okay, because I know there is a difference between you can have a nonprofit group that supports political candidates. And you can have a nonprofit group that does not support political candidates.
Right. So the foundation doesn't endorse, doesn't do anything political. It's the same thing with the NRA. There's the NRA legislative, the ILA, whatever, and then there's the NRA Foundation, which is the educational, has all the classes. It's exact same. My understanding is it's the exact same structure.
Gotcha. That's cool.
Yeah. So I do the foundation stuff.
So, real quick, what is the process to get a permit here in Ohio?
Basically, it's a 8-hour class. 6 hours must be, 2 hours must be on the range, or the way that's written is his range time. So, that there's been no official interpretation. So there's a little bit of wiggle room there with travel, with setting up the range. So I use the 2 hours on the range to actually set up and explain how a range works. And then we do some just basic firearm stuff. But then 6 hours is classroom.
Yeah.
And so it's got to be an 8-hour class by law. And then you take, what is it?
Didn't they shrink it down? Used to be like 10 or 12
Used to be 12,
hours?
yeah.
Used to be 12.
I used to teach it when it was 12 too. That's when I started.
So my attitude about a 12-hour class, sometimes even the 8-hour class, but 12 hours is 2 days?
No, I did it all once.
You did it in one day?
We did it.
Mercy.
We would do everything but legal. Then we would go to the range and shoot.
Yep.
Then I'd have it, because it was sort of like they used travel time to grab food, and then come back to the classroom, and I would do the last 2 hours was just all legal.
So yeah, after they're loaded up with food, then you give food.
Then I talk about law,
and they fall asleep.
But that's kind of my specialty, because I was JAG Corps in the Army, and then I studied constitutional history, and then I skipped a little. I did a year of law school. So I know just enough to be dangerous, that kind of thing. Nice. So yeah, understanding the legal side was my specialty early, before running the gun was something I could do well. So
cool.
Actually, my legal part is what I was known for a while.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. Okay, so it used to be 12 hours. Now it's 8.
It's 35 there.
35.
Little tiny town with flags hanging everywhere. You might want to watch out.
Okay. This is why I have a hood cam.
We got we got a lot of these Norman Rockwell towns in this part of Ohio.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, so became an instructor, volunteer time, started teaching at some places. How do you, and getting into Buckeye is invitation only. How does this, I want to talk about the faster stuff, because I may have a little bit of a buzz.
You're high on faster right now.
I am. I really am.
Yeah.
I really am. It's a rush. I mean, I don't want to say I'm an experienced gun guy. I'm an instructor. I've been doing this for a while. Some of this stuff is a lot of fundamental stuff, which is fine, because the Faster Saves Lives program is designed to help teachers, so that teachers, where they can legally carry in a school, they can, and they become the security team. Right. And then the security team is not something they don't make this public knowledge who takes the classes and which teachers are carrying a gun and any of this sort of stuff. Correct. And I think it's great. We had a couple of people that a couple of Jewish men that are part of the security team at their synagogue.
We have a lot of church security comes through, and as far as I know, this is the first time we've had a synagogue security come through. So that was cool.
That is cool. That is cool, because I mean, it's important for everybody to learn how to be safe. But
once again, the more legal, armed, educated citizens we have, the freer we all are. We've all heard the saying that an armed society is a polite society, and that's kind of what backs it up. If I know how to use a firearm, if I'm carrying a firearm, if I know when I can use one and when I can't use one, this means that I'm not going to do stupid stuff, and I'm not going to shoot someone for parking too close to me at the parking lot. Correct.
All right, so let's talk about faster.
Sure. The history or the substance?
Let's do some history and some substance.
So if I remember correct, it was December 2012 when the Newtown Massacre, or Sandy Hook as some people call it, happened. And please, I hope the powers that be that I'm going to mention here, I'm saying everything the right way, but John Benner, who sort of owned, in a sense, the curriculum, who runs our, what I call Southern Training Facility. He runs where we do our faster training down in Southern Ohio, in Adams County at the Tactical Defense Institute. He was the National School Resource Officers Training Guru. So he was at the national level training school resource officers. So he had already developed this curriculum that he believed would be a dream if he could ever get it enacted, but never thought it would happen. So he had it in a 3-ring binder on a shelf. And we had, so the massacre happened, then you had different school boards across the state and parents calling up school boards saying, hey, what are you guys going to do to keep this from happening to us? And so naturally, people in Ohio, a lot of them called Buckeye Firearms and said, hey, is there, what are you guys doing? Is there anything already in place? What can be done? And I don't know the dates on it, but there was already a law in place in Ohio that, I guess we'll get to the part 2 of this in a little bit, but there was already a law in Ohio that said school boards could authorize teachers or staff to carry in schools by local school board directive. So there was that in place, and then people were asking for it, but we didn't want to just tell people, hey, just handguns out as handouts in school. So Jim Irvine had already been and several other people in Buckeye, Joe Eaton, had been their own students down at TDI, just going down there as loyal customers. And so Jim Irvine calls John Benner and says, hey, I got all these people calling me about this. Do you have anything about it? And John Benner, kind of, in my mind's eye at least, he's got a grin on his face, and he's like, well, yes I do. Yes I do.
What a coincidence.
So actually it was him and a gentleman, Dr. Dick Castor, who was also part of the National School Resource Officers Organization and had been I believe the superintendent of Dublin schools outside of Columbus. Anyways, they had done this curriculum together, actually. And so we brought them both on board. Jim Irvine got with them, and Buckeye, as a nonprofit, had some funds. We hired them. Hey, let's get going. And then so we had our first class, I believe it was in March, just a couple months after Newtown.
Wow.
I believe it was March. Maybe
pretty amazing.
That was the first that was the only season I was not involved, was the first.
Wow.
So I'm a little bit fuzzier on that one. And then all of a sudden we had more people pouring in to take classes than we knew what to do with. We actually did a double seminar one day where we did a seminar with Colonel Grossman. And I believe that was in April, just a month later, where we talked about the program, had Colonel Grossman discuss it with people, and then we did the Buckeye Bash and a Colonel Grossman event all in one gigantic day.
Wow.
And after that, we had thousands of applicants to be in the program. But so far we'd run, I believe it was like 1, maybe 2 classes. And so we realized there was going to be a need for more trainers. So Jim asks Mr. Benner, says, who do you recommend we hire? And he says, I recommend you hire Chris Serino up in Northern Ohio, which is the location we're in now.
Yep.
And up until last year, I jokingly call it the Northern Training Facility for the program, because we got a Northern group and a Southern, and I guess it's military stuff coming out of me. But so up here we had Chris Serino Training Group, and due to some other circumstances, we now have, this year was Andrew. So Chris Serino did it for our first few years, amazingly, and then Andrew, who had worked with Chris for many years, took it over this year. Andrew and Michelle Serino, and they ran it, and you know, we tweaked it a little. Every year we're tweaking it. Every year it's tweaked, and we did a new format, which you were the recipient of. Trust me, it is so much better. It is so much better, because used to it was an 8-hour day on the range on the first day, and then go have dinner, and then come back for 3 hours of trauma medical. That first day was tough. Yeah.
Andrew's last name, I can't remember it.
Andrew Blubaugh.
And Blubaugh.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
B-L-U-B-L-A.
All right. He owns Apex Training and Tactics.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So you can find everybody I mentioned. Michelle Serino is Princess Gunslinger on most social media.
Okay.
And Andrew is Apex Shooting and Tactics.
All right.
And TDI is on Facebook as Tactical Defense Institute, and then its website, I believe, is tdiohio.com.
Okay.
So those are all the people that we hire, and then as the years went by, we realized we wanted to set students up for success, of course. So we were having failures from people that had been to pretty piss poor CCW classes, because that's the first requirement.
Yeah.
And they were going straight from CCW to faster.
Yeah.
And now that you've experienced it, that's a pretty big leap.
It is a pretty big leap.
So we created a few years ago the Foundations program. I wasn't involved in the first year, maybe 2 years of that, but now that program is run by me. I train more further south, and then Sean Payton and his Priority Defense Solutions. It's on the side of his vehicle. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Priority Defense Solutions, and I hate to tell you, I don't know his website, but look up Priority Defense Solution, and Sean and Jennifer Payton run that foundation. So basically, in the spring, we have schools that have already chosen their people. They want to get them ready. We require them to go to Foundations now. So then they look at the dates we post, sign up for Foundations, come for a one-day class with either me or Sean, and we run them through all the shooting part of Faster.
Yeah.
In a one-day, quick, down and dirty. We want to give them the vocabulary, the concepts, the basics of like grip and things that, you know, they may have learned Weaver or something in the past, or the Glock click bang method or something. So we want to repair all those problems, and also we use that as a gear proving ground, because a lot of people show up with like Uncle Mike's felt holsters, and so, you know, they show up with stuff and they don't know anything yet.
Uncle Mike's a sponsor. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness.
I don't have any sponsors.
Oh, really? Well, hey, that makes that easy. Yeah, I didn't need to worry about that.
Goddamn right. No, it really doesn't make it easy. But that's all right. I'm just kidding.
Makes it easy on me.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't even think anything like that.
No,
wow.
please.
Okay.
I'm not worried.
But yeah, they'll show up with guns that may be great guns, but not good guns to learn on.
Right.
This kind of stuff. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people to and as an instructor, I used to tell people to bring to classes what they carry.
Right.
Then I realized that if they're carrying a bodyguard, if they're carrying a Smith & Wesson bodyguard, which is a great carry gun, That is, you just ran the class. How would you like to run that with a Smith & Wesson 380 bodyguard?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to run it with a bodyguard, period. But I will say this. I just, a couple weeks ago, I did a Mag 40 class.
Yeah.
I want to go back and I want to do Mag 40 with my carry gun, which is a J-frame revolver. And I'm like, you guys are all your auto pistol and your bottom feeders. And
bottom feeders.
I have,
that's a new one. I haven't heard that one.
The bottom feeders. The bottom feeders. I'd like to do an advanced class with a 5-shot revolver because that's my carry gun. Everyone's, we had people that had their Glock 19s and a couple Glock 17s, and there were probably 3 or 4 people that had the SIG 365.
Right.
And I'm like, I carry a J-frame.
Yeah.
I need to come with a J-frame.
Well, I'll tell you, TDI has a snubby and micro compact class they run.
All right.
So
I'm gonna have to see what I can do about that.
Yeah. No, they'd love to have you there. I'd love to see you get Mr. Benner here in the car.
All right.
That would be great. Mr. Benner, by the way, just throw us out there. He was one of the early inventors and innovators of SWAT when it was still fairly new around America.
Oh, cool.
And he was in charge of a multi-county, multi-jurisdictional SWAT team. As far as we know, the only one in the country at the time. But still to this day, he's looking for new techniques and stuff. He's not an old dog that doesn't learn new tricks. But no, he's great. He's running that down there and got an amazing program.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's keep talking about faster. So the Foundations teaches people that are relatively new to shooting?
Well, the requirements are CCW, Foundations, Faster Class.
Okay.
So whether they're new or expert or whatever, we require them to go through, then we at least stamp of approval.
Right,
we know they're ready for the 3-day Faster Class.
You know all the language and the terminology.
Because, and maybe this is something I had failed to say earlier, if a school is brand new to the program, we pay for all this for them for free.
All right, so you talked about scheduling, and you talked about the faster season. It's only 2 weeks long, right? Is
this year it's only 2 weeks. Sometimes it's spread out between June and a little bit of July, maybe, but this year it's all very compact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because you are taking people that are teachers,
right? And
we did go to an undisclosed location that was a real working school.
Correct.
And you had to do this obviously when school's on a session.
Correct.
So.
Correct.
Which is totally cool.
It's great. So yeah, if a school is brand new to the program, we give them grants. And even if they're returning, the grant's not as high, but they still get grants as they come through the program. So in other words, we don't want to spend money on someone that's just going to come and fail. Gotcha. So we created the Foundations program to set them up for success.
What about in states where I live in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and
whatever the hell that is,
right? Occupied territory.
Yes, it is. You're behind enemy lines.
Oh, yes. It's a target-rich environment, though. I'm joking. Just joking. Anyway, in Massachusetts, you can't carry a gun in a school unless you have prior written permission from whoever's in charge of security. So, I actually have a friend of mine that is a principal, and I thought about asking her if she would be interested in coming to this, and I wasn't sure what all the protocol was with that, and I don't think that she would be able to carry at her school. So,
but she would be an advocate probably for something different now.
Yes. Right. So I might have to. I'm going to have to work on her for next year.
Right. Excellent.
So I thought that would be really cool.
Excellent. Absolutely. Yeah.
So the program we go through, we went through a lot of handgun fundamentals on the first day, and then we ended up doing some shooting drills.
Oh yeah,
and then we did some more shooting drills. What I really liked about the first day is we had working lunches.
Yep.
And during the lunchtime, usually after we ate, is when they took out the pictures of all
the gross stuff.
Right.
The trauma medical during lunch. I know.
It's delicious.
Yeah, I know.
Don't bring pasta.
Well, we maybe that's a little bit of a filtering process for us. We don't want weak stomach people in.
Right.
No. Yeah. Pasta. I wouldn't want to eat that while trauma care.
Right. So I think one of the things that I thought was super beneficial is I have not done a Stop the Bleed class, and
really,
yes, I am.
Now you have.
I have. I feel
essentially same thing.
I feel better about it, and knowing what. Knowing that on the extremities you put a tourniquet, and you put put on the torso. You put a
chest seal.
A chest seal, yes.
Or pack.
Or packet, or all that kind of stuff. So that's cool. I'm going to go back and review my notes on that. Excellent. That is, as someone that carries a gun, if you carry a gun because you think you're going to need it to get into a gunfight, someone somewhere is going to possibly run the risk of getting hurt. So
what I tell my students all the time is everyone thinks, get a gun, get a piece of plastic and a holster, and I'm good.
You're good to go. Yeah,
but here's the thing. If you are carrying a gun, that means you have a relative belief that it's a plausible possibility that you're going to need it. Well, if you're going to need it, we as civilians only get to go second, and that's mind-blowing when people first get it. Because they don't realize something bad has to happen first. Well, that's something bad happening that then allows you to draw a gun as a civilian. May be your shot. It may be a loved one's shot. Well, then let's say you do a good thing and turn into John Wick, and boom, the threat is eliminated in whatever form that may take. But your loved one or you yourself die anyways. Did you win? No. Right. You may have done something good in the process of your death or their death, but you didn't win. Right. Especially if it's a preventable thing that you could have prevented with a tourniquet, with a little bit of knowledge on a chest seal, things like that.
Because there are a lot of people that die in mass shootings because people don't know how to administer first aid.
Right. And there's different, I guess, protocols in different areas, but for the most part, we have to go with the assumption that if it's a mass shooting, medical's not coming in as long as the situation is hot, or maybe not even if it's warm. They're going to stay out there, and you either got to find a way to get people to them or keep them alive long enough to get the meds in there, and that's what the focus is of this kind of trauma training. We're not trying to turn people into EMTs or nurses or doctors. Just the very first time I took it, what blew my mind was I had been in the Army for 13 years, and I'd had to go through all kinds of first aid classes and stuff, and it was always like, okay, we're going to tell you how to save lives with 42 simple steps.
42
Yeah, I mean, I'm exaggerating, a little hyperbole there, but it was the way it felt. It felt like there was so much to it, I couldn't retain it.
Yeah.
It's just not the kind of thing that sticks in my head well. But when I first took my very first faster trauma class, I remember the statement clear as day where he said, listen, I don't care if you have to shove a dirty tube sock in there to stop the bleeding. We'll take care of infection and everything later. I don't need you to be a pro. I just need you to keep them alive long enough for the pros to get there.
Absolutely.
And man, it was so simple the way they narrow it down to all I need to know. And now I do. I carry a tourniquet around with me, and I have relative belief that I can find a way to plug up a chest. So, the chest seal just keeps it from getting worse. They actually do the fixing in the hospital.
Right. So what I thought was cool about the tourniquet is I know there's a lot of gun folks that carry a med kit on their ankle. But one of the things that we did is we had to take a tourniquet from a shoestring and a power strip.
The improvised tourniquets.
Yes, exactly.
And that part of the class to me, I think, is mostly just teaching you how to look at the right things in your environment, whatever that may be the day you need it.
I mean, how many times do gun folks say that the mind is the weapon, everything else is a tool?
That's correct.
So, you can take a power strip and cut the cable off, and you've got the cord as the...
windlass.
No, the power strip is
the band.
But the cable itself is what you wrap around someone's arm.
Correct.
So that was pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. So what else? Let's talk more about it because there's so much stuff to talk about. So we did 2 days. We did a lot of shooting in the first 2 days, and we had a qualification that we had to do, and we had to shoot from different distances. We had to shoot from different shooting. Not necessarily shooting positions, but we do one-arm shooting, one-hand shooting.
So some actually kind of basic techniques that most gun. Yeah, it's nothing crazy.
It's nothing crazy.
It's not like a Chris Costa class or anything.
No, nothing. Thank God. But we did have to shoot from retention, which a lot of people have not done that before.
Correct.
And it's a little weird when you feel that concussion. Right in front of your face.
Right in front of your face. First time you do it, it's pretty freaky.
You might want to wear your brown pants.
Yes. Yeah. So it's retention, then there's a 2 to chest, 1 to the head, so a little failure drill, then there's some one-handed dominant, one-handed weak hand, then a reload drill, 2 at distance, then Faster has raised the standard because the standard that we have here in Ohio is the Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy qualification, and it is 25 shots in it, and law enforcement has to get 20 out of 25. So we knew for political reasons, as well as we just wanted a higher standard, we knew that we needed to have a higher standard.
Yeah.
So we call it the Opata Plus, and we added 3 shots to it, which are shooting on the move from 20 feet up to about 10 feet. You got to get 3 shots while moving, and our standard is you must score 26 out of 28.
That's
so
cool.
we have a much higher standard than the Ohio police academies do, and
Right.
so we
And
kind of that insulates us, we think, from certain criticisms.
Sure,
but,
absolutely.
You know, but of course we want a good standard anyway. So
I mean, you do want a good standard,
Yes.
but it's nice to go back and say, hey, listen, here's what the police have to get. Here's the score they have to achieve. We have to achieve something higher than the police. You know,
Right.
and it's certainly nothing against the police. It's
No,
just
no, it's not.
You do have to.
And we have lots of police come through the class. Yeah, school resource officers come through.
Right.
We have a grant for all school resource officers, can sign up for FASTER, and it's always a grant, so they don't, nothing out of pocket for a school to send to their school resource officer. Because, you know, some of these school resource officers have just done their normal police thing for X amount of time, and
Right.
then they put them in a school, and it's a little different. You know,
Yeah,
the duties are a little different. Plus, if they're a school resource officer that stays there all the time, now they're getting connected to kids, and they've put other duties on school resource officers like smoking cessation and
Right.
those things. You know, so we just want to make sure they come through the program and at least understand. You know, from the experts, like I said, John Benner and Dr. Dick Castor, the experts of what they believe, you know, how things should work in a school. And so, without going into the details, you know, we talk about that even with school resource officers.
Cool, cool. Today was the day where we did all scenario-based training.
Correct.
And a little bit of force on force.
Yeah, a little bit.
Some of us had a little more force than others.
Yeah. Well, I'm the bad guy in
You
the
were the bad
scenarios
guy.
that I work with.
Right.
And, so yeah, just about every scenario, somebody's shooting me at least once.
At least
And
once.
sometimes gravity is not sufficient to get me down fast enough. Especially with your group.
Right.
All the Second Amendment
all the
media
folks-
types that have been to classes and shot
Right,
more than the average teacher that was there.
Yes.
You know, they weren't happy just to shoot and watch me fall. They literally shot me to the ground. So
Right.
I would take several rounds just trying to get to the ground. and of course I got to fire some back. You know, we have
Right.
some standards, which I won't go into the scenarios, but we have some standards where if they're giving me a verbal command when that's not appropriate, then that's when I turn and light them up,
Then
as
you
we
start to
say.
engage, yes.
I start to engage, and or if they're doing something goofy, you know, then that's my time to make them, you know, pay with a pain penalty.
Exactly.
So
I love it, man.
Hopefully those memories stay a little bit better.
It stings.
So, you know, like with yours, without going into the scenario details, you know, you probably should have, once you, as we say, buy that real estate of getting in the room, then just go forward and blast.
You know what's completely ridiculous is I knew there was going to be a guy with a I'm taking the class.
Isn't it
I know
crazy
what
how
it
you
is.
know what's going on?
I know
and
what's
it's
going
still,
on. I know there's going to be a guy. I know he's going to have a training gun. I know I'm going to be able to shoot him. But still, when I looked in the room, I'm like, oh my God, there's a big guy with a gun. I got to go back in and shoot him.
Isn't it insane how much adrenaline and
the whole breathing. Oh my God.
And you know you're there. You know it's fake, and you know it's going to happen, and it still doesn't.
And it
to you.
still
I've seen it
spikes
for
the
years,
adrenaline and the breathing. Dude, I was so out of breath, just breaking a sweat. I'm like, you got the mask on too, so you sound like Darth Vader.
Yes.
So I shot him. We got take the mask off and try to explain. Oh man.
And then after it was over, did you dance around trying to figure out what to do next?
Yeah.
Were you a dancer?
I was not a dancer.
Okay, you weren't a dancer.
I was super excited, though.
We had, I'm trying to think who it was.
We had a couple people that were gallopers.
It was Robin Sandoval.
Robin Sandoval
was a
Girl on a
galloper.
Gun. She is a galloper.
But she lit me up.
She did.
She got me. She got me once on the knuckle here, and I was up on sights on her, and she got me once on the knuckle, and then twice in the top of the chest.
Yes.
Just bam, 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 and so
that was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
and,
but she galloped into the rescue.
Yeah, I think they said Amanda Suffolk from Eye on the Target Radio was also a.
Did she gallop too? I didn't hear that
notice.
one.
Yeah, your back's to the whole thing.
Yeah, my back's to the thing. Yeah, wait and see if they do the right thing before I turn. And Rob
Rob Beckman.
Rob Beckman. Oh my God, he got within. Well, I tell you, when he got close to him. That's right, you were there.
I was.
And I began to turn around. I literally felt like I was going to hit his gun if I extended. That's how close he was. And he hit me 3 or 4 times. So that was the first really painful one of the day.
Yeah. Well, Rob is a big dude.
He's a big
dude. He's episode 109 of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. I just had him on the show in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. He's a big dude, and for him to get that close to you was like, holy crap, man.
Yeah. I heard the voice, put the gun down or whatever it was he said, and which was purely a formality. All I had to do was begin to turn his direction. He got lit up. So, I think that was just so he could say he gave me a chance. But yeah,
I gave him a chance. Put the gun down. Bang.
But just in case anybody's watching this and misunderstands, we make the scenarios plain that I'm standing here telling you I'm going to kill each one of the other people, the innocent people in the scenario.
Right.
We make it so that the person learning in the scenario has a clear-cut way to perform without ambiguities, and we're not trying to do gotchas with ambushes out of corners and so we want them to go through the learning process real well. So just the fact that it was a formality was not a problem because I'd already killed people in the scenario.
Yes.
So I was already a killer, and I was saying I was going to kill the next people too. So he took me out. But yeah, it's good times.
It was good times.
Good times.
All right, so let's finish this up and talk about the nonsense that Ohio did today.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate day for what we do, and it's okay. So there's two statutes in Ohio. One which years ago was written and mentioned the only people that could be armed was, and it gives a list. It doesn't say resource officers. It says school security officers. I think it says police. And then it says, or other people. I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to misquote and sound bad here. But
it's the people that the school says can carry in the school.
Right. And it says that those that are employed for that purpose must undergo Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy. Right. So they must go through police training. They must go through police training or have 20 years on the job as law enforcement. That's the only way you can be armed by that one statute. But in our opinion of how the law is written, and I think when you read it, it's very plain. I just can't quote it. It's very plain that it's talking about people employed for that purpose. And then later, a few years later, there was another law that was saying school boards could authorize teachers, and it gives a if I remember right, it gives a criminal liability or immunity to criminal liability because if the school board has signed off on that person. Right. Well, our contention is teachers aren't employed as security; they're employed as teachers.
So I've been a teacher for 25 years, and
that's right. Yeah,
and I've talked to this and I wasn't a gun guy before I became a teacher. I got into it as a teacher, and all that kind of thing. I remember telling people after Parkland and probably every school shooting, and people say, "Well, why would you want the teachers to carry guns? Because what if a teacher has a bad day? What if your kids don't come in? What if they fire off rounds to tell them recess is over?" And I'm like, "Oh my God. Are you really that stupid? You don't." I like to tell these people, you know what? You're probably not smart enough to have a gun yourself. Like, really, if you think teachers are going to, if you think teachers are not, they're not already responsible for your kids for 6 or 8 or 7 hours a day. If you drop your kids off in the morning and they stay in the after school program because you got to work later, the kids are already in the teacher's care. They're in the teacher's security. Right. The teacher's got to take care of them all.
Well, what if there's a fire? We don't employ them as firefighters.
We don't.
But we sure as hell hope they grab the fire extinguisher, right?
And get the kids out. And you take your attendance roster with you, so you know how many kids are supposed to be there, and all that sort of stuff.
But they're not firemen. They should have to go to fire academy to be able to do that.
Right.
So that's basically what the Supreme Court did. Was a majority, a 4-3 decision. The majority combined those two laws and said, yes, this law says they have criminal liability, but if they're authorized, they must go through this training. And
I think it's the whole police training, right?
Police training.
Like they want to have the police
They have
training.
to go through the police academy, is the way it now stands today in the state of Ohio. However, Buckeye Firearms Association, as well as some other individuals, I'll put it that way, have been working with the legislature all during the time we've been waiting on the Supreme Court decision to be released.
Mm-hmm.
We've been waiting for, if I remember right, 4 months. So during this time, we've been dealing with legislators already saying, let's just go ahead and do a legislative fix, then the whole court decision will be moot. Well, we weren't able to get that done. My understanding is the Senate passed a good bill 2 or 3 times, but we couldn't get the House to take it up and do it. And being a little bit of a political junkie myself, I'm just going to throw out, I'm not speaking for Buckeye here at all. This is purely me. I think it's legislators thinking, wait a minute, if the Supreme Court fixes it, then I don't politically have to stick my name out at all.
Right.
We can just wait on them to do it. So I'm hoping they now say, the good ones now say, okay, I have to fix it.
Right. And it's the state Supreme Court, not the
correct.
US
It's not the federal Supreme Court. No,
right.
we're talking
just in Ohio.
the Ohio State Supreme Court, or State of Ohio Supreme Court. Supreme Court of the State of Ohio. There we go. I knew I'd get it.
That's the official title.
That's the official, yeah. So no, it's just the
SCOTUS.
state. Right. Yeah, this is not a, as far as I know, this is not has
SCOTO.
SCOTO. Oh my God, Supreme Court of the state. SCOTO. I have not heard, not thought of that.
I don't know. We get so many great terms we come up with on this show.
I know. Is that right?
No.
I got to go back and watch a few episodes.
You need to watch them.
I've watched a couple, but it was a little while back, to be honest.
A little what?
A little while back.
Oh, cool. Well, cool,
Yeah.
man.
Yes, I'm excited to check some out now, even when I'm not on them. Well, I mean, I know some of the people now after spending time with you.
Yeah, I've had, Rob Beckman's been on the show, and Amanda Suffolk and Robin Sandoval and Cheryl Todd have all been on the show, and they were at the class. They were some of the media people that were taking the class, and you know, the great thing for me is I get to take this class and I get to talk about the benefits of this program.
Well, first person.
Absolutely.
Not on theory, not on paper. It's not because you interviewed someone, but because you were there
I
and
went
did
through
it.
the class.
Yeah.
I get the wounds to show it. I do. I got hit for. I'm -4 in shooting the bad guys.
Right.
But yeah, to go through it, and it makes me say, okay, I can practice. You know, the techniques that we talked about, the tactics. You can practice in your house. You don't have to go to a shooting range. Yeah, you can do the dry firing stuff at home as well. You can get yourself a SIRT pistol, and I've had Mike Hughes, who made the SIRT pistol. I've had him on the show.
Yeah.
You can do all this stuff at home. You don't have to spend money. You have to spend money to get a pistol or something, but you can.
It's not every time you pull a trigger. It's not money.
Right. It's not $1 every time you squeeze the trigger. Right. So it's important to get all that stuff down. And the ridiculousness of it, my attitude, and I've seen this in other states and talked to other people about this. If the teachers, in order for teachers to carry in school, if the state wants them to say, okay, well, you have to go through the same training the police have to go through, I don't know how much of the police training is all.
Well, it's not because
exactly.
Yeah, the police officer has many additional duties that a teacher that simply decided to step up and defend children wouldn't have. Mm-hmm. Right? Just like civilians, we're not required to go through police academy to carry concealed.
No,
it's the exact same thing. So one of the parts that the Supreme Court got hung up on is, from our perspective, Buckeye and me, we don't believe. Just like a concealed carrier, actually, even a cop does not have a duty to jump into the middle of a mass shooting and stop them. There is no duty. And the Supreme Court of the federal government, I believe, has even agreed on that. So they've said that because there is a duty, it's then part of their job, and they've been hired as such. Therefore, that other law applies, and they have to go to police academy. But they don't have a duty. Just because a teacher hears a shooting, they don't have to go confront them. Right. As you learned in class, we may tell them, because they have a classroom of 6-year-olds, we want you to stay in the classroom in case it comes to you.
Right.
We don't, we
don't have to go out looking for them.
Right. We tend to focus more on your janitors, maintenance people, and admin to be the ones to go confront, unless they're right there with you. Mm-hmm. And then so it's kind of a. Based on the scenario you're in. So my point is, there's no duty for a teacher that has volunteered to be armed, gone through the training, carries. They could sit there in their chair and never do a thing. Right.
And we have found out from Parkland that even a police officer and a resource officer is not going to get himself involved. So my attitude about the whole thing is this: if you're going to make teachers go through all of the same thing they have to do to be a police officer, so they can carry a gun in school to protect their kids, then let them be a police officer. give them a badge, let them bust high school kids for illegal possession of pot, and when they come in and they come into class and they're stoned or drunk or something, give them the same powers.
Do they arrest anyone for pot anymore?
No.
Okay. Great example, though.
Right, but I mean, really, if they're going to have the same powers as a police officer has, great, give them a badge and let them
Detention
be a cop.
Would have a whole new meaning.
It really would. It really would.
But obviously, we're not for that because almost no school would have.
No school is going to.
No school would have. Okay, well, maybe this is important to tell for your viewers to understand at least my perspective, and I believe the perspective of the rest of Buckeye and the program is, yes, we're for school resource officers. And you've heard people say, well, let's put retired vets in or whatever. Okay, I'm for that too. I'm for screening their social media to see if anything coming. I'm for great relations with local cops. All those other answers I've heard, I'm for all of them.
Yeah.
But in the end, if you think of it as concentric circles closest to the child themselves, you're not going to give the gun. We're not going to give the guns to the kids and train them.
Right.
So the next layer right outside the kid is those closest to them, and that's the ones right there in the school. And we know from past shootings, there's always staff that are willing to give their lives up to try to protect kids.
Absolutely.
We just want to put the tools in the hands of those kinds of people so that they don't die in the process and they can stop more people from dying in the process.
It's not for everybody. I don't want all the teachers to carry guns if they don't want to. I don't want regular people.
Just like being a cop's not for everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not for me.
It is not for me. It's if the teachers want to do it, give them the training that they can use that is going to be practical for them in schools.
Yep.
And there's no need for them to do all the stuff to become a police officer.
Right.
Give them the training that's going to pertain to what they have to do, and let them carry in the school. Let them do so where it's legal, and where they can, and give them the proper training.
Right.
What is so I sat through, as a teacher, I had to sit through like new math nonsense. I'm the band teacher. We only count to 4. That's it. And it doesn't change. It doesn't change. Why do I have to go through new math? There's no...
Oh, that's funny.
Other than that, I have no strong feelings.
You make yourself sound almost like a football coach.
All right. I thought it'd be great. I went through this whole thing. I'm like, why don't the kids call me coach? Like, why don't they call me coach? That'd be kind of cool.
I coach musical instruments.
Right. I'm on the band team. It's ridiculous, man. It is completely ridiculous.
Yeah. So we're very sad about the Supreme Court decision, but we believe we're going to overcome through. And even in the majority's decision, they mentioned, like I said, I read it today. If I remember right, they said 3 different times in the majority decision, which is against us, that the legislature can fix this if they choose to.
Well, that's a little bit of hope.
Yeah, and that's we thought we may even get that done before the decision was released. So we didn't. So we still have hope we will.
That's cool. Yeah. All right, listen. You have brought some of the Faster Saves Lives patches.
I have.
Tell us about these, because can people get the qualification stuff without going through the class?
They can. So we came up. We're a nonprofit, and like I said, we spend a lot of money granting free classes. We'll pay for the hotel and the tuition to go to the classes because we hire world-class trainers, like I described earlier.
Yeah.
So we go to great expense. All they have to do is get themselves to the training, bring their own ammo, which most of the schools pay for through the program. They get their own ammo. They have to get here and they feed themselves. We pay their hotel bill and their tuition, especially if they're new to the program. So we're nonprofit, and we need to find ways to make money. So I'm going to do a little plug here to GoRuck.com. I'm a little bit of a GoRuck fan. Not near as fit as I want to be, but I do some of it. But GoRuck is an organization, if you go look at their website, nothing to do with guns, although they do have firearms training, by the way.
Cool.
It's all former special operations guys.
Nice.
And they do events, kind of like your Mud Runners, Barbarian Challenges, and all that. Just get out there and check it out. I want to belabor what they are. But you go through this massive, maybe 8 hours or 6 hours or sometimes even 24 hours of the cadre at a GoRuck event, making you carry weight, logs, water, dogging you out with push-ups, maybe even making you go into the water and do push-ups. I mean, it's intense, right? Yeah, it's like a lot of work. So, but in the end, after you pay them to do this to you and you do it, you get a patch. So I got Joe Eaton, the director of Faster Saves Lives, into the GoRuck community.
Cool.
And he last year said, hey, do you think people would be as crazy about getting a patch for shooting as they would for, and I'm like, sure, there's at least a big chunk. So I wish I could claim the idea. I didn't. So I told him, yeah, and he goes, okay, Tom, you run with that idea. So it's his idea, but most of the mechanics I've done. Yeah. So the very first one we did is the, I don't know, should I get closer to it?
Yeah. Okay. Zoom in.
The very first one was the OPATA Challenge. And OPATA stands for Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy. Now this patch says OPATA Plus.
All right.
And so the idea is a challenge. It doesn't mean you have to order it from us, then score it and send pictures of proof or get anyone to sign off. If you pass it and do well, of course we're happy about that. But the idea is to challenge yourself to do something you haven't done.
Right.
So it's the faster challenge. It's not the faster qualification program.
Gotcha.
So the very first one we did, because this is our qualification for our teachers here in Ohio, was our OPATA. Then the second one we did is the FBI challenge, and that is actually, we do the FBI challenge. And once again, it's not about you having a certain score, it's about you went out and did it. You challenged yourself, you tried. Right. So there's that one. Our third one is the very first state we expanded to was the Colorado, the state of Colorado, and they now actually have their own name and they're a separate organization called Colorado Faster, I believe.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we honored the fact that they were the first state we expanded to.
Nice.
With the Colorado state flag, with the Conestoga wagon, and you do the Colorado Peace Officer training requirement to do that challenge.
Nice.
Then, let's see, that was, I think the next month, if I remember right, would have been October. This one I'm especially proud of. It's a glow-in-the-dark patch, and it's the Zombie Hunter. So it was Halloween month.
Yeah.
And so, of course, you know, the Walking Dead stuff's been a big deal for years now.
For a while, yeah.
So I talked to my manufacturer, and they said, yes, they had glow-in-the-dark thread. So we got a Zombie Hunter patch, and when you do that one, the course of fire, for each string of fire, I gave a scenario.
Only headshots?
Like, oh, that's right, only headshots count. Only headshots count, that's correct.
Really?
And it goes all the way out to 75 feet.
Wow.
With little scenarios for each one that I wrote up, you know, with a little tongue-in-cheek humor in there.
Oh, that's too funny.
You know, like you're going down the road and you see your old mailman stumbling at you.
Oh my
you know,
gosh.
or you're in a grocery store and you got to shoot the old deli manager that you used to know. You know, those silly things.
Your former boss.
Yeah, and I got, you know, my kind of humor's in there. So that was the October, and then you've got the for November we did a theme patch, the Thanksgiving theme, but it was TDI, our Southern Training Facility, as I mentioned, is TDI, and they have a handgun proficiency exam they do for students and instructors, and we use their proficiency exam.
Nice.
And then we did a Christmas one, and Andrew Bluebaugh of Apex Training and Tactics, he came up with this one, and he used stuff he'd done in police competitions before, and
cool.
he made the whole target for us, a Christmas tree with bulbs on it and stuff. And for each bulb you had to do certain things.
Right.
So that was the Christmas one. And then our system fell through a little bit. We're primarily volunteer based.
Yeah.
And we had some family pop, just things happened to volunteers, and so we kind of fell apart. But the one we stopped on was January. Once again, Andrew's working with us because he does a lot of videos on like Instagram and stuff about dry fire, staying up on your training. So I told my artist, I said, what I got in my head is like a Dick Tracy graphic,
right,
with click instead of bang in the little bubble there. So the idea was, if you signed up for this, we were then going to send you periodic videos on how to do dry fire at home and stay up during the winter months and low ammo.
Yeah.
So anyways, you can get any of these on our website at fastersaveslives.org. You scroll down a little bit to the training portion, and you can get these with or without the official targets. If you pay for the target, they're $25 a challenge.
Cool.
And if you don't want the target, you just want the patch, and maybe you don't even plan on shooting, you just want to support us, that's fine. We're not going to hold anybody's feet to it. We'd love you to get the training in, but if you don't, that's cool. And if you just want the patch and whatever, that's $20. So, and then we'll do deals too. We'll offer deals sometimes for multiple, buy them all for $100 or something like that.
All right.
But it's about funding us. It's not about your scores or nothing like that. And then we'll have tourniquet challenges coming up, and we've got a lot of things. So we're not doing the exact same ones over, even though the old ones do stay on our page.
Gotcha.
So that's one of the ways we fund our program.
Cool. Cool, man.
Yes,
well, we are almost where we need to be.
Yep.
How can people find all of the folks that you're associated with?
Well, you can find Faster Saves Lives on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We have a website, fastersaveslives.org. There's also BuckeyeFirearmsAssociation.org. That may be a .com. I'm not sure about that one.
We'll put a link on
but yeah, we take memberships for that as well. People support us for the political stuff that we do as well. You know, I'm Tom Hall on Facebook, if anybody cares. And I got a couple projects I do, but nothing quite as successful as yours, Charlie. And yeah.
That's how I roll, bitches.
Yeah, I'd like to come up with a unique idea like you've done. This is great.
This is kind of cool. I like my little gig.
I do too.
I think it's a pretty cool little gig, man.
I mean, it got you all the way here to hang out with Faster, so.
I know. So this month has been a really cool month for me because I did spend. I spent the 3 days here in Ohio, and then a couple weeks ago I spent 4 days out at the Masada Yub group, the Mag 40 class.
I heard that was pretty awesome.
It was pretty intense.
Good.
Pretty intense. So it's all good stuff, and it's been a great month. So I got nothing to complain about.
That's good.
Okay, so
I mean, if you can't complain, that's pretty amazing.
You know, I drove 3,800 miles was the round trip to South Dakota, and then this one is going to be maybe 1,100 miles round trip. So I'm going to need an oil change when I get home.
Yeah, I think so.
Totally.
I think so.
Listen, we're going to put links for all that stuff. We want to remind everyone that if you are not a member of the Second Amendment Foundation, you need to be. So you can join the Second Amendment Foundation at saf.org. You can check out all of your pro-freedom podcasts, all of your favorite pro-freedom podcasts at sdrn.us. That's Self-Defense Radio Network. You can watch Riding Shotgun with Charlie here on YouTube. You can watch it on the Ops Lens app. You can also watch it on Gunstreamer. You can listen to the show in podcast form on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on iHeartRadio, and usually wherever you can find podcasts, because people seem to take podcasts and just put them in places. So
they're everywhere.
They really are. So you should watch the show. You should check it out. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you want to support the show, you can get some patches. You can get a Riding Shotgun patch, not the cool Faster ones, but you can get a Riding Shotgun patch and a Riding Shotgun and Gungram sticker, which these are for you.
All right.
They are for ya.
Thank you. Did you get an Opata patch?
I'm gonna give you $100 for all of them.
Okay. Awesome. Yes, that sounds great. That sounds great.
This has been an awesome for me. Anyway, check the YouTube, Facebook page, all that sort of cool stuff. You can buy Riding Shotgun with Charlie and Gungram shirts at ridingshotgunwithcharlie.creator-spring, which I'll put links for that. Dude, this has been great.
Great, yeah.
I love that. This is how I roll. You ready for this? Bam. A hunch.
There you go.
Bam.
And if you want the target sent to you, just, text me or whatever. We'll get that done.
Awesome.
If you're actually going to do the shooting.
Yeah, I want to do the shooting. I'm so tactically frugal. I'm like, how can I take the targets and make copies of them?
Sure.
So I can keep shooting.
Yeah, no problem.
Anyway, so thank you so much for watching the show. Thank you for being on. And we're going to put links to the Buckeye Firearms, and we're going to put links to the Faster Saves Lives. Excellent. And we will see you guys next time.
Thank you.